Good day everyone. In today's video, we will discuss about neoliberalism, myth, and Veta. Miss Okora will be discussed as about neoliberalism, Marvin Arienza for Vita, and yours truly, Journal Alciso for myth.
What is neoliberalism? Neoliberalism is an economic philosophy that conceptually describes a move towards free markets, capitalism, and a diversion from government ownership. The typical policies associated with neoliberalism include free trade, globalization, privatization, and changes in government spending to stimulate the private sector. Neoliberals favor a progressive tax regime and do not oppose measures such as bailing out companies in financial distress. Being a rather dynamic topic, the meaning is interpreted by different schools of thought in several ways and is often subject to debate. History of neoliberalism. Neoliberalism has gained traction over the last 25 years. The term neoliberalism means a new kind of liberalism. The idea of a liberal economy became prominent in 1776 when a Scottish economist named Adam Smith wrote a book called The Wealth of Nations. In his book, Smith propagated the idea of getting rid of government intervention and claimed that the best way for an economy to flourish is through free trade and deregulation. Several years later, in the 1930s, another economist named John Keynes challenged the policy of liberalism and inferred that such a policy was suitable for capitalists. Government intervention was deemed crucial for the welfare of the public, and it led to several leaders transitioning and working towards the common good. However, the concept of neoliberalism is now being practiced on a global level following the decline in corporate profitability.
Roland Barthes is a French theorist whose work discussed the sociology of signs, symbols, and collective representations, among other topics. In his book Mythologies, Barthes undertakes a semiotic commentary of popular cultural objects well known in the French community, such as stick and chips and even soap and detergents, unearthing the symbolic value of these objects in relation to their claim of universality. At times finding that some objects retain signification interrelated with the bourgeoisie and capitalist cultures. He resolves to call the cultural power of this object is myths. Bart's work on myths, writes Andrea Robinson at Seafire magazine, prefigures discourse analysis in media studies. He directed his focus to certain inside-use myths, particularly typical of right-wing populism and of the tabloid press. Barthes thought of populist mythology as a meta-language that removes history from language, making particular signs appear natural, eternal, absolute, or frozen, and transforming history into nature. Through its normalization, we lost sight of artifice of cable news, for example, and take for granted its forming as a universal standard for high seriousness and credibility, as in the portentous signification of breaking news, even when we know we're being lied.
Vita, The Human Condition, first published in 1995, is Hannah Arendt's account of how human activities should be and have been understood throughout Western history. Arendt is intersection in the Vita Activa, active life, as contrasted with the Vita Completiva, or contemplative life, and concerned that the debate over the relative status of the two has blinded us to the important insights about the vita activa and the way in which it has changed since ancient times. Arendt introduces the term vita activa, active life, by distinguishing it from vita contemplativa, contemplative life. Ancient philosophers insisted upon the superiority of the vita contemplativa, for which the vita activa merely provided necessities. Karl Marx flipped the hierarchy, claiming that the vita contemplativa is merely a superstructure on the fundamental basic life processes of a society.